So we're going to check out 3 final table hands here. Dom and I are going to discuss the strategy that comes into play, or maybe not, if the hand is kind of straightforward. So we're going to look at hand 1 here, where big blind, who is the short stack on the table, calls a raise with Jack 10. The button who covers him has aces and makes a pretty small C bet. And the big blind eventually jams it in here with top pair on 10-7-3. I think if I'm in the big blind shoes, I would play this exactly the same. Dom, would you ever make a case for just calling the flop in his shoes, or are you going to fast play it in the same manner?
I would absolutely fast play this as well. I think it's 100% the right play. If you're the short stack here, really what you want to do is pick up the pot. And perhaps if there was like one guy on like a 2 big blind stack, you could make a case for trying to survive. But just here, you're the short stack. Your hand is really strong. Anything but all in would be a pretty bad play.
Yeah, that was my feeling as well. We'll move on to the second hand, which is a 3-way pot. It appears that we have one short stack player all in with 10s pre-flop. He's up against jacks and an ace-5 that made the call in the big blind, and the jacks have flopped a set. They bet really small on the flop, and so we pick up the action with the big blind and their top pair, making the check call on the flop of the small c-bet. Turn is a 7, adding a flush draw to the board, and now with 14 blinds in the pot, the jacks bet 5 big blinds. Definitely an awkward decision for the big blind here with the side pot going on, but they elect to make the call, leading to a queen of diamonds on the river. So the jacks had a little less than a pot-sized bet left, but went with about 1/3 pot on the river. Do you like the big blind making the call on the turn? And do you like the sizing from the set of jacks on the river, or do you think they should have jammed?
I think what's really interesting here is also pre-flop, because I'm trying to figure out how this all went down. This would really be the key to that question, because perhaps the big blind could have folded pre-flop. If it goes open and then an all-in which reopens the action, then I would assume that the big blind should be getting out of the way right away. And if the action wasn't reopened, I'm assuming the call is fine. It's still sort of debatable. And then, yeah, on the flop, you're already not happy. And on the turn, I agree, that's the decision, right? You're already super unhappy on the turn. So I think, yes, we're up against a small bet on the turn again, but I kind of want to fold the turn. I already wanted to fold the flop. On the river, I definitely want to fold now, and I do not like the non-all-in bet. Strategically, the in-position player should be very tight, and he should only be betting all in. So I don't see what he's trying to accomplish here. You're basically just trying to value tone that one hand that already sort of was ambitious pre-flop, sort of not happy on the flop, very ambitious on the turn. And then on the river, you're really trying for like one more from something that ambitious. It's a bit far-fetched. That doesn't work.
Agreed. Moving on to our final hand, where we are 3-handed. And it appears that these two players got about 22 blinds effective, all in pre-flop with ace, king, and 9s. And what creates a more interesting dynamic here, we have a small blind player with 7 big blinds. So I do wish that we had a clearer sense of who covers who pre-flop. I guess we'll watch this hand play out as the nines.
I assume the 9s cover by quite a bit.
This is actually an interesting question for me to ask you. Do you feel in a spot like this that the ace-king should ever flat pre-flop when they outship the small blind 3-1? Or because we have the nut hand to just kind of jam pre-flop and take it down, does that still dictate our strategy?
The answer to ever is yes. Of course, there are spots where you should call. And to answer whether this is one of them, it depends for one on the payout structure. If it's very top-heavy payout structure, obviously no way you're just calling ace-king. If it's a flat payout structure, then yes, you would call. Or if the guy is even shorter, then yes, you would call as well. So in order to give a definitive answer to this, we would need to put it in a calculator. And it could very well be that the button is supposed to play a lot of open jams. And when the button does this, it could just be that your ace-king is just a call because the hands that min-raise are either so strong or so bad that you just want to call. Plus, also what could be the case is the button has a way bigger stack. So that's another reason that we're basically effectively just playing for a second. So there's all these dynamics in play that could just make this a call. And given from what we see right here, I would argue that this is very close. We need further information. It's a very interesting one for sure.
Yeah, and a spot where if you get stuck on autopilot thinking about chip EV and how to win the most chips, you always just rip in the ace king. And it's not until you practice and condition yourself to be more present and aware of ICM that you start finding those adjustments. So I think like a lot of intermediate players get themselves to final tables and they're still just kind of playing the game they know how to play. And as people become more advanced, they graduate to that level where everything's about dynamics.
Yeah, that's where the skill set comes in at final tables. That's where your money is made.
All right. Well, this has been a very clarifying conversation about some of these final table spots with you, Dom, and appreciate your time today. Hopefully we have more great WPT Deep Stacks online events with 888 in the future. And maybe next time we'll talk about some hands that you play there.
I hope so too. Thanks, Tony. It's been fun.
Take care, man. Until next time.